If you go far enough back, a pillow is not soft, it is patient. It holds the head the way a shelf holds a bowl, steady, modest, without opinion. In the oldest river cities between the Tigris and Euphrates, people sometimes slept with the head set on a low stone block, basalt, limestone, whatever the ground offered and the hand could shape. The top surface was carved into a shallow curve, just enough to cradle the neck. The block did not pretend to be a cloud. It was cool at dusk, cooler at midnight, and in a hot room that was reason enough. You lay down, the back of the skull found the curve, and the rest of the body understood. This is where stillness begins. Farther west, along the Nile, the same idea took wooden form. Egyptian headrests, one curved bridge look, almost architectural. A small base sits on the mat. A slim post rises. A crescent of wood meets the neck. The design repeats for centuries because it solves the same quiet problems. Keep the head above sweat. Keep the neck in a known place. Keep the air moving under the skull. In a climate where nights could be warm and insects persistent, elevation is comfort. The headrest also protected elaborate hairstyles. Sleep could be rest without being revision. Workshops made them in grades. Everyday acacia, travel versions in compact sizes, ceremonial pieces in ivory or carved hardwood. Some were left simple, rubbed with oil until the grain answered light. Some wore small incised patterns lines that guided the craftsman's knife, then stayed to please the eye. When a person died, a headrest often went into the tomb with them, a piece of daily peace packed for the longer journey, not drama, just continuity, across the Red Sea and deep into East Africa. Herders carried portable headrests on long walks. The shapes vary: tripod feet, single post, wide saddle butt. The function hardly moves. Raise the head, keep the neck easy, keep hair and ornaments undisturbed. Wood there is chosen for behavior rather than rarity. Species that resist splitting, that forgive sun and sweat, that take a good polish from years of hands. But many headrests darken from light brown to a deep, quiet gloss simply by being used. Time is a finishing oil. In early China, the idea learns other materials. There are earthenware and later porcelain headrests, glazed with a smoothness that stays cool when cloth does not. Some are shaped like small bricks with a gentle arch. Some are molded as cats or lotus leaves that happen to support a neck. The surface is not for sinking, it is for staying. Summer air moves across the glaze. Heat leaves the skin. The mind notices less. In many households, a soft pillow might also exist, but through long summers, a hard headrest is the tool that behaves every night the same way. If you pick one up carefully, with both hands, you feel what the body must have felt at the day's end. Not softness, but certainty. The certainty has pieces. It has height, so the throat is not folded. It has a curve shallow enough that bone meets wood along a friendly line. It has a base wide enough that turning in sleep does not turn the furniture with you, and it has weight. You learn quickly not to kick it in the dark. joinery on wooden headrests tends to be simple on purpose. A mortise and tenon that fit without arguments. A peg through a joint where time might wobble. No springs, no padding to slump, no cover to launder. Maintenance is a cloth and a little oil. The surface grows quiet under years of touch. Edges lose their impatience. The object becomes the room's small expert at not changing. If you listen to why these early forms last, the reasons arrive without hurry. Airflow. A raised head means a drier pillow, a cooler neck, fewer insects. Posture. The neck's curve meets an object's curve and wakes less angry. Stability. A hard support trains the sleeper to turn the body in slow arcs rather than jerks. Durability. Stone does not flatten. Wood, once seasoned, prefers to stay itself. Nothing glamorous, everything exact. There is social meaning to spoken softly. A headrest can mark ownership in a house where mats and blankets are shared. It can travel tucked under an arm, tied to a packend, so the sleeper carries a known night into unknown places. In certain burials, a carved headrest says, "The person who used this valued ordinary order." It is a biography in 3 parts. Height curve, base with no adjectives required. Even the making is sleepy to imagine. A carver sets a blank of wood on a low bench. He draws a crescent with charcoal. Not an artist's flourish, but a radius learned from wrist and habit. The saw works on the straight cuts. A gouge finds the curve. A scraper smooths what the gouge confessed. A piece of leather with ash or fine sand persuades the surface to behave. At each stage, the craftsman tests with fingers and with his own neck. The measure instruments are the body itself. In climates more humid, stone and ceramic have an extra argument. A hard surface draws heat gently from skin, the way a clay jar cools water by letting a little of it leave. In a room with no fan, the effect is not dramatic. It is the sort of difference noticed by a person who keeps noticing small mercies. Enough to matter, not enough to be a story at breakfast. Were these comfortable? That is the wrong verb. They were consistent. And consistency is a kind of comfort that works especially well when the goal is sleep, not entertainment. You put your head in the cradle, align the breath, let air travel freely under bone, and the rest follows. If softness is a lullaby, hardness here is a metronome. Tick, breathe, tick, breathe. By the time soft cushions begin to spread woven cases stuffed with seed, with chaff, with down the hard headrest does not disappear. It shares the room. Summer and winter have different ideas. Festivals and ordinary days assign different tools. The first pillows continue to do their specific job, while new ones learn other tasks. For tonight, it is enough to know how the story opens. With stone, with wood, with shapes that act more like furniture than feathers, a curve to match the neck. A base to admit no surprises, a surface conditioned by the same hands that slept there. These are the calm beginnings of a long, quiet history. After stone and wood, the pillow becomes a bag knot, yet a cloud, but a container that learns to be kind. The rules are simple. Weave a cloth that won't leak. Choose a filling that won't rot at once. Close the mouth and teach the whole thing to behave. Cloth first. Early bags prefer linen because flax thread is strong, cool, and honest, but woven tightly. Linen keeps small things inside and air moving through. The hand that closes a linen pillow uses stitches that Dante shout. A backstitch that will not creep open, a whip stitch along a folded edge, ties that answer to washing days. In colder places, a woolen cover appears thicker, forgiving sometimes outside the linen, sometimes instead of it. Twawl holds warmth. Linen carries away damp. Between them, the head finds a steady climate. What to put inside? People start with what the year leaves behind: chaff and straw. After threshing, the light skins of grain gather in heaps. Spelt, rye, barley each makes a filling that is dry, crackly, and quick to forgive pressure. A chaff pillow is not springy. It is settling by nature. You pat it into a shape, lay down, and it learns your decision without argument. After harvest, households refill sacks and pillows at the same time. Old chaff goes to the yard, new chaff comes indoors, and bedrooms smell quietly of fields, seed holes. Where buckwheat grows, buckwheat holes go into bags. Where millet is common, millet holes do the job. Whole pillows are heavier than they look. Push your hand in and they flow, then lock. Lift your hand and they hold the hollow you made. They breathe well, stay cool, and make a sound like dry rain when you turn soft enough that after a week the ear stops noticing. In summer, people favor these for the same reason they favored ceramic headrests, air moves, reeds, and cattail fluff. Where wetlands are close, dried cattail down and fine reeds appear as seasonal experiments. They are light and a little untidy. Families learn quickly to use a tighter weave-ticking cloth to keep the fluff from exploring the house. Wall flock. Trimmings from fulling and carding, the small clean tufts go into pillows that want warmth more than precision. Wool springs back slowly. Over months it compresses and asks politely for teasing. Hands in, lift, shake, return. Winter answers yes. Later centuries will add cotton, kapok, and rubber foams, but the early catalogue is this: what the field and the flock can spare without drama, construction that stays quiet. To keep small fillings from wandering, people turn to dense, plain fabrics called tick-heavy linen, later stout cotton. Seams are double-turned so edges cannot fray from the inside. Closures vary by habit. A row of stitches to be unpicked at harvest, narrow tapes to tie and untie, or a folded envelope mouth that minds its own business until laundering day. Some households add a removable sleever, simple queso. The inner bag can stay sealed for seasons, while the sleeve takes the washing. Care is a rhythm, not an event. Sun is the oldest tool. Pillows go to a window, a sill, a linered until warmth persuades damp and smell to leave. Beating is gentle. The goal is to move the filling, not punish it. In cupboards, pillows share space with simple guardians, a sprig of lavender or rosemary, a sliver of cedar, a paper cone of dried peel. They do not chase pests like soldiers. They discourage them like good manners. When a pillow grows lumpy, the answer is to open it, sort it, and shake. Add a bowl of new holes or clean flock and close it again with tidy stitches. Nothing is urgent. Everything is maintained. Shapes matter. Alongside square or rectangle, early beds favor the bolster, a long cylinder that runs the width of a mattress or straw tick. A bolster steadies the neck and keeps bedding from wandering. Couples share one without thinking. Children sit on it to hear stories. During the day, it becomes the backrest for a bench. The quiet rule is reuse. Status speaks softly. In many places and centuries, the number of pillows says as much as their softness. One good pillow could be a dowry piece linen woven in winter, embroidered in spring, filled after harvest, stored in a chest that smells of hope and starch. In other corners of the world, soft pillows are fewer reserved for elders, the ill or festival nights, while everyday sleep returns to mats, headrests, or a single sensible bolster. Nothing here is universal except the idea that the head should end the day somewhere known. Sensation is ordinary. A chaff pillow answers with a small hush when you turn. A whole pillow remembers the hollow you liked yesterday and offers it again. Wool holds a little warmth and asks you to forgive its spring. Linen against skin is cool first, then equal. None of these make a show. That is the point. Problems have patient solutions. Damp, sun and time lumps. Open, stir, top up, itch. A tighter tick or a thin inner liner between filling and case. Smell of harvest too strong. A case washed with soap made from last autumn's ash and fat, then dried where wind knows its work. Even noise becomes a virtue. The faint rustle is a metronome for breath, the opposite of surprise. By the time feathers and down begin to travel widely, the soft bag has learned most of its manners. Tight weave, friendly seam, filling suited to weather, a schedule for care. The idea is stable contains small, let air pass, allow shaping and later luxuries, simply ride that idea higher. For tonight, think of the earliest soft pillow as a useful sack that got very good at being near your face. It is the room's quietest machine. It asks only to be aired and topped up, and it pays back with shape, coolth, and an absence of decisions at the end of the day. Softness arrives in two traditions that travel different roads to the same bed. Silk that behaves like captured breeze, and bird down that behaves like very small weather. Together they teach a bag to become a cloud. Silk first quiet loft without quills. In rooms where mulberry trees tutor caterpillars, people learn to make silk floss. The fine tangled fibers left after reels have taken the long, proud filaments. Floss does not twist into thread easily. It prefers to lie down. Spread by hand into thin, gossamer layers, it becomes a pillow filling that lifts without rustle, springs back without memory of edges, and stays temperate cool to the first touch, then equal. In China, layers of floss were stacked inside tight woven cases and tamped into obedience with palms. A few stitches through all layers, small tacks kept the silk from migrating. A soft case of silk or polished cotton went over the inner bag so skin met smooth, not weave. Silk's advantages are domestic and seasonal. In humid summers, floss breathes. In dry winters, it keeps the small heat the face offers. It resists mildew politely and does not invite pests the way seed and grain sometimes do. When a pillow has thinned with years, the repair is gentle. Open one end, add a handful of new floss. Tease the layers with fingertips. Close with a neat ladder stitch. The pillow returns to its post, the way a well-mended book returns to its shelf modest, improved, likely to outlast a few fashions. Feathers and down the architecture of lightness, where geese and ducks keep company with kitchens and ponds. Households collect feathers after cooking and during natural molts. In colder coasts, people gather eider down the way. Careful guests gather fallen blossoms, lifting from nests, leaving dry grass in place, so the birds do not complain. Feathers have quills, down has none. A down cluster is a little star, weightless, with radiating fibers that catch and hold air. Air is the real insulator. Down simply convinces it to stay. Early feather pillows taught makers a new problem. When a quill wants to poke, how do you persuade it not to? The answer is ticking a dense, downproof fabric, traditionally woven in a straight, stubborn, plain weave that quills dislike passing. The classic ticking shows a blue and white stripe, not for magic, but because mill looms made it in quantity. And the stripe told you at a glance which cloth belonged near feathers. Seam allowances are doubled and turned. Corners are rounded, so quills have no sharp rooms to colonize. A skilled hand sorts as it fills more down for faces that want cloud, more small body feathers for necks that prefer a little push. A second case slips over the ticking, so laundering does not ask the inner bag to swim. How to keep softness from walking. Loose fill behaves like weather inside a fabric sky. It needs boundaries. The simplest is a plain sack that you fluff each morning down finds its level. You pat it back into hill and valley. Later, makers sew channels or small tacks through the pillow so fill does not migrate to the corners. In fuller mattresses and quilts, the idea becomes baffle construction, cloth walls inside, creating little rooms that keep down from thinning in the middle and lumping at the edges. 4 pillows, narrow baffles along the length, make a chambered shape that guides the neck while the center stays low. None of this is dramatic. It is carpentry in cloth, clean and care-slow persuading methods. Feathers prefer dry. Sun and air are the oldest laundresses. Cases come off and see the washboard, filling sees the window. If feathers must be washed, they are bagged. bathed, and dried long in baskets, in breeze, in patience then aired again, so the slight oil that keeps them lively is not bullied away. Down returns from the sun, smelling faintly of outside, and sleeps better for being reminded it. Each morning, a shake holds pride better than a punch. Grasp the far corners below, then press the middle once. The pillow learns the shape you like and offers it again tomorrow. Places with their preferences. In Ottoman rooms with carved chests and low bedsteads, yastık cases of cotton or silk-held mixtures tailored by season down for winter. More feather for summer wear firmness had advantages, sometimes a bolster for reading and a softer square for sleeping. In Northern Europe, eiderdown travelled as treasure. A small quantity lifted a whole household's reputation for hospitality. In East Asia, silk floss stayed common even as porcelain headrests persisted. People kept both tools the way kitchens keep both pot and kettle different verbs for the same day. The variety is local, but the urge is universal. Lift the head, reduce decision, let sleep find you faster than you find it. How softness changed the sound of night. Whole pillows hush. Wool sighs. Down makes almost no sound at all. The absence becomes a kind of metronome breath, paced by nothing but breath. A down pillow asks you to fluff once and then forget it. Silk asks less. Lie down and it remembers you. The body, receiving fewer messages, answers with a longer exhale. This is history you can hear by not hearing it. Small etiquettes around feathers. Families kept feather chests lined with paper or cloth. Lids that discouraged, dampened, added to them across years. A spring goose here, an autumn duck there, the rare windfall of wild birds. Sorting happened in winter light. Clusters to one bowl, larger feathers to another, quills trimmed if they insisted on opinions. Weddings might include a pillow among the linens. Births, a handful of fresh down to top up the house's stores. No ceremony, a quiet economy of comfort. When cloud meets structure, some necks prefer a bolster under a softer square. Some prefer a firmer center with down around the rim what later makers will sell as gusset. The principle is older than the advertisement. Combine loft and line until the throat keeps its good angle. If a pillow collapses, the fault is not with softness, but with neglect. Open, add a bowl of down, stitch, reshape. If a pillow resists too much, pluck a handful out and gift it to the quilt. Nothing wasted, everything rebit. By the time cotton and kapok arrive, by the time machines spin thread tighter and looms weave denser, the silken down lesson is established. A pillow is a container for air that must not escape too quickly. Feathers catch the air, silk spreads it. Ticking fences it politely. Hands maintain the treaty. For tonight, if you want a picture to fall asleep on, a striped ticking case half filled with down, open mouth turned to lamplight. A bowl of clean clusters that look like the idea of snow. A palm smoothing the fabric. 3 neat stitches closing the end. A shake that lifts the corners into small, obedient hills. Set it on the bed. It will wait without fidgeting. Before a pillow can be soft, it must be clean in the ways that matter and patient in the ways that last. For a long time, that meant three things done without drama: wash the case, air the filling, and mend the parts that want to wander. The room where it happens, every house that takes sleep seriously grows a laundry corner. Sometimes a full wash house with a copper boiler and a stone slab. Sometimes a window, a bucket, and a line. The good rooms have light, a south-facing pane, a door that stays open, rafters where heat collects. Light is not decoration, it is medicine. Sun thins damp, sweetens cloth, and tells mites and mildew to look elsewhere. In colder countries, an airing cupboard above the stovepipe or beside the boiler does the same job slowly. Shelves get warm by inches, and pillowcases come out smelling like dry wood and patience. Soap that knows its manners. For centuries, the soap is almost always a conversation between fat and ash tallow or olive oil married to lye, then boiled until the mixture remembers how to clean. Bars sit on a shelf to cure. Flakes are shaved into buckets when wash day returns. In Mediterranean kitchens, Castile keeps linen friendly. In northern washhouses, a grey country soap does the work without perfume. When whites need cheer, a thumb of bluing indigo or Prussian blue wrapped in muslin is swirled into the last rinse. The faintest blue makes white look honest again. Monday, because the week approves. In much of Europe, Monday is wash day. Water heats in a copper. Pillowcases, not the feather bag, go in first. Soak soap. Rub on a ribbed board or a stone. Rinse twice, the last water clear enough to drink if it had not worked so hard. Where there is a public lavoir or riverside slab, linen meets smooth stone under a wooden beetle. The thumping is steady, not angry. In Ottoman courtyards, the hammam rhythm extends to laundry. Hot water, olive oil soap, long rinses, then lines strung in sun that sees both privacy and purpose. In Edo, a shallow tub and cool well water finish with uchimizawa, sprinkle that settles dust where clean cloth will pass. Ticking stays out of the tub. The ticking, that dense, downproof inner bag, does not like to swim. It is brushed, aired, and sun-cured, not boiled. If it must be washed, the feathers move first. A damp day is chosen so down will not fly, and the ticking is opened over a wide-mouthed net bag. Someone with patience presses clusters through with a spoon. The bag ties shut and goes to the window to breathe. The emptied ticking gets a fast, cool wash, a long dry, and a check against the light 4 pinholes. Then the net is untied, and the flock returns by handfuls, with a pause between handfuls so air can become part of the filling again. The mouth closes with a fell seam or a neat ladder stitch, and a row of tiny tacks keeps the contents from walking to the corners. Airing is half the wash. Cases, once clean, go out to the line cloth. Remembers the shape of wind. It stiffens slightly, smells of sun, and forgives wrinkles under an iron's slow weight. In winter, frost airing is a trick as old as scullery's pillows, laid on a bench outdoors before sunrise. The cold, tightening fabric and the dry air scalding smells away. Inside, a clothes horse opens by the hearth. Steam walks off in quiet columns. Nothing is rushed except the kettle. Mending is design continuing. Feathers and silk are polite until a seam forgets its job. A laundry day always includes a mending hour, a thimble, small scissors, a spool of strong thread, and a basket of quiet repairs. A leak gets a downproof patch-tight weave, rounded corners, stitches close enough to discourage curiosity. A case thinning at the fold becomes a case with a new hem and a French seam that hides the raw edge where it can do no harm. Button plackets that strain learn tapes instead. Ties forgive the drier days of winter when fingers want larger targets. Monograms live near the opening knot for pride, for identification when things go to a public wash or a hotel laundry with more sheets than names. Pressing is not theatre, it's storage. An iron charcoal or later gas, heavy enough to mean business, travels the pillowcase in lanes. The cuff lies flat first, then the body, then the fold that makes the linen look like it always knew how to be a rectangle. Some households like starch at the cuff for the cool snap against the face on first touch. Others prefer the drape of plain cotton, a linen press, 2 boards and a screw, or simply a patient stack under books. Keeps finished cases calm until needed. Smell learns to be quiet. Cupboards share space with small guardians, lavender, rosemary, a shaving of cedar, sometimes a slice of orange peel, dried until it remembers summer, but does not advertise it. These are not perfumes, they are discouragements for moth and damp. Camphor works, but bodily sensible houses keep it far from children and closer to trunks that travel. Hotels and hospitals, same principles, louder boilers. When laundering scales up, the rules don't change, only the rollers do. Cases are boiled clean, rinsed until the water gives up remembering soap, then fed to a mangle that presses out damp and wrinkles both. High thread count cotton behaves if the temperature and pressure are kind. Ledgers keep laundry marks, small stitched codes or a dot system so each case finds its room again. White remains white because the schedule is unbroken. Wash, press, store, air, repeat. Order keeps rest honest. The quiet cycle. A routine takes shape that never needs announcing. Night, shake the pillow. Set it to breathe for a minute at the open window. Turn it once. Morning. Stand it on its edge while the bed cools. The underside gets its share of air. Weekly cases off. Wash and line dry. Ticking aired seems checked with fingertips and light. Seasonal. Sun the whole, top up silk or down if patience and stores allow. Retire what no longer holds a shape, not to discard but to donate its filling to a quilt. Nothing heroic, everything exact. Why sunlight is part of the design. A pillow is a container for air. Sunlight trains that air to behave. The weave tightens by a breath. The last of the water leaves. The faint smell of field or bird yields to something that the nose calls clean and the chest calls easy. Architects quietly respect this. Washing windows face the right way, lines run where wind arrives and leaves without making stories. Sills are wide enough for a 2-pillow visit on a good day. Even modern machines, with their settings and warnings, cannot improve on a clear afternoon and 10 minutes of wind. If you listen while the day does this work, the sounds are exactly the kind that sleep likes. Water shushing along cloth. The tick of an iron setting a seam, a line creaking once and then holding still. Feathers hushing back into their room, a cupboard door closing with a small, dry toke that means enough now. A pillow speaks before you touch it. It speaks with cloth, with edges, with the way it sits. The filling may make the cloud. The cover teaches the cloud its manners to everyday species, case and sham. Across many rooms, the rule is simple. A pillowcase is the sleeve that touches skin. A sham is the jacket that performs. The case is plain woven cotton or linen close to the mouth, the first to visit the wash. The sham wears a flanger comb border that lies flattened, comes off before sleep. In Britain, the sham with a flange is often called an Oxford pillowcase, the one without, that closes with an internal flap, a housewife case. The second name is a small history itself. A Bolton cooperative of housewives popularized the envelope closure in the early 20th century so pillows would stop creeping out at night. The design stayed because it behaved. Closures that don't wake you, closures, solve small problems without making noise. Early cases tie with narrow tapes at the mouth. Later, mother-of pearl buttons sit in a neat placket. Bone and horn appear where coast or pasture decides. The envelope flap needs no hardware at all. Hotel workrooms like a deep bag hem that swallows the pillow and lies still under a second sheet. Whatever the method, good closures learn 2 tricks. No lumps under the cheek and no surprises in the dark. Edges are a quiet alphabet. A plain hem says, "I am ready." A hemstitch drawn thread, the strands bundled with fine stitches, says someone had winter light and patience. Broderie anglaise pricks small islets into flowers. Whitework raises the pattern with nothing but thread and daylight. Richelieu cutwork removes islands of cloth and bridges them with satin bars so air can pass through pattern. On sturdier cases, a line of piping cording wrapped in cloth and caught in the seam keeps the edge honest. On lighter styles, a rolled hem stays out of the way like a well-trained whisper. Every edge is a decision about how much the hand should feel. Monograms, modest and useful. Letters work as labels long before they work as pride. In laundries and big houses, red or blue cross-stitch initials near the opening help cases go back to the right bed. Wedding linens. Entwine 2 sets of letters the way vines do. Dowry sets keep the bride's initials large enough to read and small enough not to shout. Some cultures place the mark inside for identification, not displace, so the sheet can be all quiet on the outside. Ottoman divans and the yastık habit in Ottoman rooms. Sleep and sitting often share the same divan low, wide bench along the wall, padded with a mattress and yastık long cushions, set upright by day, laid flat by night. Yastık covers ranged from simple cotton to worked silk. In many households, they were faced with kilim or pile-woven yastık rugs, small carpets exactly pillow-sized. Embroidery borrowed garden forms: tulip, carnation, hyacinth, scrolling saz leaves. A guest learns where to sit by where the yastık leans. Tea tastes different with a good back. At night, a softer linen case comes forward. The show cover rests folded on the chest, smelling faintly of cedar and soap. Central Asian Suzani and the grammar of plenty. From Bukhara to Samarkand, large Suzani embroiderous sun discs, pomegranates, vines cover walls and beds. Smaller panels become pillow ends and bolster sleeves. The stitchy skein, buttonholed, travel in long arcs. The color remembers madder indigo, weld. Pillows here are not only for the head, they are architecture for sitting, part of the soft geography of a room that expects conversation. Europe's shams and trousseaux. In many European districts, the trousseau chest stores winter hours, linen woven in close tabby, pillowcases edged with lace made by bobbin or needle. In Alpine and Balkan villages, beds parade stacked pillows, large squares below 65 times 65 or 80. 80 smaller rectangles in front each with a sham that proves the household's standard of order. The stack comes down at night. The housewife case remains. Mondays return everything to the line, and a mangle or iron persuades the cuffs back to crisp. East Asia's tidy print. In Edo and later Tokyo, small buckwheat pillows makura fon, wear removable cotton sleeves, changed as often as towels. The sleeve may be woven kasuri ikat or plain indigo, a color that forgives hair oil and washes to honesty. In summer, a rami or hemp case keeps the skin cool. In winter, brushed cotton. Lace has little to do here. Fit and washability do. Laces that behave. Where lace belongs, it learns to mind its job. On a pillow it should lift away from the cheek, a flange beyond the seam, not under it. Tatting rings and chains knotted from a shuttle. Trims children's cases, bobbin lace threads walked on pins. Edges shams that spend the day on display. In Anatolia, needle lace or beaded edging sometimes finishes the outer case. The sleeping case underneath remains smooth. Lace is story in daylight, silence at night. Patterns that mean home without saying it. A pair of narrow twin rows of hemstitch near the cuff, counted against the threads. A single ladder stitch crossing the width like a fence your fingers can barely feel. A line of quilting that keeps an inner pad from clumping. The eye relaxes when it sees familiar grammar. The hand finds the cuff in the dark because the cuff feels like itself. How beds introduce their pillows to arrangement is a dialect. In Germany and Scandinavia, the large square sits behind the sleeper like a quiet wall. In France, the 65 times 65 does the same. In Britain and North America, 50 times 75 or 20-26 rectangles. Pair with bolsters and Euroshams for the daylight portrait. Some households make a pyramid, some a row, some a single long bolster under two quiet cases. The point is not display. It is the invitation. Here is a known place for your head. Sewing that lasts longer than fashion. Inside seams tell you who taught the hand. A French seam encloses its own raw edges. A flat-felled seam lies smooth and strong. Fine cases hide a tiny gusset at the mouth, so stress distributes quietly. Buttonholes are bar-tacked where thumbs live. Ties are spaced, so fingers do not hunt. Good cases fail slowly and in ways that can be mended. Marking and returning. In big laundries, tiny blue dots or coded stitches live near the hem laundry marks that send cases back to the right floor. In households, a drawstring bag keeps each bed's cases together. In travel, a ribbon color tells which pillow returns to which trunk. Systems that look fussy when new become invisible when they work. Why all this matters at sleep speed. A case that doesn't slip, a flange that doesn't tickle, an edge your fingers recognize, a closure your cheek doesn't find. These are small technologies of rest. They remove decisions late at night. They let breath arrive without commentary. They make laundering predictable, mending rewarding, and the bed the same bed every time you return to it. Picture a quiet chest, folded cases in a stack, cuffs aligned, a lavender sprig that minds its tone, two shams with calm flanges, a bolster sleeve rolled like a scroll, a packet of buttons saved from old shirts, a card of tapes. Nothing glamorous, everything ready. When industry learns the bedtime alphabet, it starts with cloth on bolts and ends with pillows that arrive in pairs without having met. The change is not loud. It sounds like 100 needles making the same small decision all afternoon. Cloth by the mile. Spinning frames and power looms teach cotton to behave in quantities, ticking the dents. Downproof weave that quills dislike comes not by yard from a market store, but by roll stripes running like lanes on a quiet road. Mills keep the stripe because it announces the cloth's purpose at a glance. This belongs near feathers. Warp and weft sit tighter, pinholes retreat. A cutter lays 3, 5, 7 layers, chalks rectangles with generous seam allowance, and the table becomes a map of future pillows. Needles that agree with one another. In workrooms, foot treadle and later electric machines hum at a patient whir. Seams settle into flat-felled or French as the default, corners round on templates so fill won't colonize them. Operators guide cuffs past a guide fence, hem, pivot, backstitch. The rhythm is steady. Feed, foot up, turn, foot down, toke from the thread trimmer. Next. A second station adds piping where edges must keep their line. A third turns mouths into envelope closures so hardware won't interrupt a cheek at 2 a.m. Feathers travel farther, more politely. Down and small body feathers ride in, bales compressed, paper-wrapped, cord-tied by rail, and later truck from farms and coasts to sorting rooms with high windows. The bale strings go snick, the bundle exhales, and the room smells faintly of clean barn and weather. Workers in kerchiefs lift handfuls to sorting screens, clusters to one side, larger feathers trimmed or reserved for cushions, dust tamed by a low, slow fan. Drums tumble fill to air it. Rotary sifters separate light from lighter. Nothing dramatic. The goal is evenness. The old winter ritual lading a bowl of down to the house chest becomes a line on a mill order. Fill weight, fill power, delivered on Thursday, patterns for loft that doesn't wander. Sewing rooms turn hand tacks and channels into standard operations. Pillows for sitting get a simple sack and an instruction. Shake daily. Pillows for sleeping adopt longitudinal channels or a low gusset so the neck knows where to live while the face meets cloud. Quilters baffles cloth walls inside that keep the middle from thinning visit heavy comforters. 4 pillows, a few internal ties are enough. A machine with twin needles walks 2 neat lines down the case. The fill will mind those rails for years. Sizes that agree across rooms. Merchants and hotels discover peace in standard rectangles. In Britain, 50-75 centimeters becomes ordinary. In North America, 2026 in standard, 2030 queen, 2036 king. On the continent, large 65-65 or 80-80 squares sit behind slimmer 40-80 rest in front. The point is not empire. It is shelf space and laundry carts that don't argue. Cases fit what they promise. Shams wear their flanges without improvisation. A guest lays down in a new town and finds the same angle waiting. Catalogues and counters. Printed sheets from department stores and mail-order catalogues list choices in quiet rows. Ticking stripe or plain sateen. Soft, medium, firm. Feather down, mix by percent, protectors with zips or ties. A clerk runs a palm along a sample to show spring. A page shows a cutaway of chambers arrows for airflow. Pillows start to come with companions, protective covers that keep laundries from having to wash the fill. Laundry marks coded discreetly so cases find their floors again after the mangle. Laundry scaled up. The wash house becomes a plant. Cases boil, rinse, pass between heated rollers. Cuffs, meat irons on long arms that never tire. Schedules settle into charts. Change day by day, floor by floor. Airing rooms with warm racks. Repair benches where a torn seam meets a spool of downproof thread and a card of buttons. House standard is a recipe more than a rule. 2 pillows per sleeper. Protectors beneath cases shake at turn down. Sun when possible. Labels arrive and stay. Public health learns from crowds and writes it down. Inner bags where content labels percentages of down and feather. Sometimes a tiny warning that the tag is for the inspector and not for the sleeper to remove. Not romance, simply a tidy way for shops and hotels to buy what they think they are buying, and for households to remember which pillow suits whom when the linen press is full of twins. New closures, same courtesy. Zippers creep into protectors in some cases. Snaps and buttons stay where the ear won't find them. The old envelope mouth remains beloved because it cannot rust, crack, or surprise. Wherever a part can fail, industry chooses the part that fails slowly and far from the cheek. The sound of sameness. Factories make a different kind of quiet. The hush of fill tumbling in a drum, the soft thud of a bale settling, the whir of belts, the tick of a counter as pieces meet their count. Outside the loading dock, wrapped bundles ride to shops. Inside bedrooms, the result is simply that a head lands on something that knows its job without needing to be introduced. What doesn't change? Air and gravity still do most of the work. A pillow remains a container that convinces air to stay long enough for the neck to be reasonable. Machines bring evenness, not magic. The old rituals, zeering, shaking, sunning, mending survive because they are physics disguised as housekeeping. Picture the line at day's end, cases stacked by size. A cart of protectors rolled to the lift, a bin of trimmed threads that looks like soft confetti, a supervisor's pencil tick-tick on a clipboard. Somewhere a steam pipe knocks once, like an iron set down. Pillows slide into cartons 2 by 2. They will meet faces that never think about bolts or baffles, only about sleep hand sleep does not mind how it was invited. But when travel learns to sleep well, it does it by repeating itself on purpose. A good hotel pillow is not a surprise. It is a promise that keeps being kept. The room that rehearses behind the door with the quiet latch, the bed has already practiced being a bed. 2 pillows sometimes force it in formation, cases smooth, cuffs aligned, open ends facing away from the door, the way manners face inward. Under each case lives a protectora plain, zippered sleeve that takes the work so the down or fiber fill needn't see the wash as often. The pillow knows its position. Sleeping pillows stacked or layered. Decorative shams in front for the daytime portrait. Sometimes a bolster to keep the quilt honest. House standards written like recipes. Hotels sleep many heads, so they write it down, fill. 70/30ths feather down for soft. Microfiber cluster for hypoallergenic. Firmer feather for side sleeper. Size standard for twin. Queen for queen, king for king and. A note that cases must match without improvisation. Par levels, 3 sets per bed, 1 on. 1 in the cart, 1 on the shelf, so laundry and guests never argue. Rotation. Pillows turned, dated and retired on a schedule that sounds like weather after to winters, before high season. Sooner if a seam forgets itself. Laundry scaled to calm. The back of house has its own geography. Linen chutes carrying the day's rumple to carts, sort tables that separate by fabric and purpose. Big tunnel washers that behave like long, slow rivers. Extractors, dryers that stop early because air finishing is kinder. Flatwork ironers that swallow sheets and return turn them as horizon lines. Pillowcases get the wash and the press. Protectors the warm, clean, and the careful dry. Inserts the airing and the shake, with washing only when they ask for it. Everything comes out folded to the cart. Labels hidden edges square, as if corners slept better when they had been reminded how to be corners. Turn down, a small ceremony that behaves the same. In the early evening, a housekeeper returns with a cart that smells faintly of cotton and thyme. The coverlet is eased back, a corner triangled to suggest where the night begins. Each pillow is fluffed a taller, one first, a softer one second, then stood or laid to match the house's grammar. A small card may appear pillow menu, promising alternatives if the neck has opinions. Firmer, softer, buckwheat, latex, memory foam, antiology. Sometimes a chocolate waits on the cuff, not a luxury, a note. You are expected, and the hour knows it. The curtain is drawn to 3 fingers from the edge. So the first street light does not arrive as a headline. Identification without talking. In a laundry universe, twins must not become strangers. Pillows learn signs that hands can read. A narrow stripe of piping to mean firm, a tiny coloured bartok at the seam for feather. A content label tucked under the protector where only the housekeeper looks. Carts carry room numbers. Shelves carry zones. The mending bench keeps downproof thread, zipper pulls, and patient needles. If a zipper forgets itself, a new pull appears. If a seam grows shy, it meets a thimble and remembers. Hygiene, quiet and constant. Protectors are the daily armor. They meet the wash as regularly as towels. Encasements, breathable barriers, live beneath protectors in many houses. Guarding against dust and arguments with the century, fresh air is part of the plan. Windows opened where climate allows, airing rooms with warm racks where it doesn't. A schedule, not a speech, keeps clean from becoming an announcement. Uniformity as kindness. The whole system aims at one sensation. Predictable relief. The body travelling through different cities, different carpets and curtains. Meets the same height, same give, same cool at the cheek. The brain, seeing a shape it knows, spends less energy deciding whether it is safe. Uniformity becomes a lullaby. 2 pillows arranged the same way in Paris and in Porto, the same envelope case in a small inn and a tall hotel. The same shake and settle before the light goes out. Logistics that make rest feel simple. Upstairs, the story is quiet. Downstairs, it is measured. Inventory counts live on clipboards and screens. Damaged inserts move to a bin-marked rework. Retired ones surrender their good fill to cushions and training rooms. Deliveries arrive wrapped in brown paper and cord. Outgoing bags leave stamped clean like a verdict everyone accepts. Variations on purpose. Business hotels keep pillows moderate, and many resorts run menus longer than dinners. Mountain inns lean towards down and flannel cases that warm fast. Coastal places choose cooler percale and lighter fill that doesn't argue with humidity. Trains and ships write their own rules compact sizes for narrow berths. Straps to keep pillows where waves have other opinions. Storage that turns a cabin into a bedroom in 3 motions. The vocabulary changes. The lullaby remains. Etiquette for the sleeper. Guests learn a few small courtesies that make a large house rest well. Leave do not disturb when work wants to be private. Don't send the insert to the wash with the case. When asking for firmer or softer, use the words the menu uses so the right cart arrives. In return, the house brings water, adjusts thermostat and blackout curtains, and leaves tomorrow's weather under the door so the pillow can prepare your thoughts while you don't. Why hotel pillows feel different at 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. at night. The fill is fluffed and proud. After sleep, it is agreeable and lowered. The housekeeper knows the cure. A hold at the corners, a billow, one press in the middle loft, recovered. The day's first job is the pillow teaching itself to be new again. The last job is the hand reminding it how. Pictured the corridor just after turn down, doors closed, a linen cart whispering home, one window open at the end so the hall can breathe. Inside 100 rooms, the same rectangles wait at the same angle. Cases, cool. Protectors, patient. Inserts, ed. The city outside can be many things. The bed has chosen just one. Soft bags taught air to linger. Engineers taught foam to hold a shape. The result is a family of pillows that feel less like clouds and more like quietly obedient furniture-still beds, just with blueprints. Latex begins as a tree and becomes a spring that doesn't squeak. From the rubber tree's milk-white sap, makers whip a batter, pour it into a mold pricked with pink ore rods, and cure it into a single breathing piece. In the older Dunlop process, the batter rests and settles denser at the base, firm like bread with a tight crumb. In Tolalay, the mold is vacuumed and flash frozen before curing. Air is arranged on purpose, the feel more even, a little buoyant. Those holes you see are not decoration. Large holes soften a zone, small holes firm it. The whole piece ventilates without asking the sleeper to do anything but breathe. Latex springs back fast. You press and it returns now like a polite answer. Forms multiply. A simple slab inside a knit cover. A contour with 2 waves for back and side sleeping. A cervical roll under the neck with a low field for the skull. A zoned core with softer shoulders, firmer center. Some makers laminate layers soft over firm so. The neck keeps its quiet line while the cheek meets kindness. The sound of a latex pillow, if you can call it that, is the silence of immediate return. Memory foam is slowness taught to be useful. Viscoelastic polyurethane born from research that wanted seats to absorb impact, remembers the pressure you give it and lets go slowly. At room cool, it feels firmer. At skin warm, it yields, a map that fades on its own. Early pieces were single blocks. Later came ventilation channels, perforations and shredded fills inside zippered covers you can open and adjust by handfuls. Some foams carry gel beads, graphite, or phase change microcapsules not cold, simply less eager to keep heat. A good visco pillow doesn't bounce. It settles, like flour leveling in a cup. Covers matter because skin notices solid cores, where stretch knit covers cotton tensile, lyocell or polyester blends that let the foam move without wrinkling the case. Many have a zip so the cover can see the wash, while the core sees only air. A gusseted cover, a band around the side, keeps the edges square and the loft readable in the dark. Under that, a thin protector is insurance against time. It slows oxidation for latex, keeps memory foam dry, and makes spot cleaning a cloth job instead of a saga. Care is mostly what you don't do. You don't soak a solid foam core. You air its shade, not noon sunturn it. Dust it with a little baking soda if life got lively, then vacuum gently. Latex dislikes UV and ozone. It lives longer in cotton and calm. Memory foam dislikes heat and long squeezes. It prefers a flat rest and a patient room. Spots meet a damp cloth and mild soap. Dry completely before the cover goes back. The old cycle still applies. Case to the wash, core to the window. Everything returned when quiet. Measures arrive with numbers, but still mean feel. Foam talks in density and ILD. Indentation load deflection. Higher density ages more slowly. Higher ILD feels firmer. None of it tells your neck how it will be at 3 a.m. That is why shops keep samples. Your hand learns more in 10 seconds than the label tells in 10 lines. Side sleepers often like taller loft, steady edges. Back sleepers, moderate height, gentle cradle. Stomach sleepers, low. And forgiving or better no pillow at all, and a small roll under the chest. The rule is the same as linen. No arguments with anatomy. Composites try to borrow the best of both worlds. Shredded memory foam flows and fluffs. Add a little latex shred and the pillow stops sulking between punches. Some cores place a latex layer where the neck lives and a calmer foam under the skull. Others hide a buckwheat chamber in the middle for adjustable support with a foam quilt over it for quiet. None is a miracle. Each is a way to get loft plus line in one rectangle. Claims made modest. Latex resists dust mites by being dry, dense, and washable at the cover. Memory foam resists simply by being less friendly to crumbs and humidity. Cooling means less warm, not icy. Natural latex can be just that, or blended with synthetics for consistency. Certifications Ocotex Eco Institute tell you what the foam brings to the room besides shape. Polyurethane foams often carry Certipa US or similar labels low VOC. No certain solvents, so the first night smells like new fabric, not chemistry class. What the night feels like. Down hugs, latex lifts, memory foam holds. With latex, turning is quiet, and unpunished you are where you meant to be as soon as you arrive. With memory foam, turning is smaller, the pillow remembers, then forgets at a pace that persuades you to move slowly. Many sleepers learn to like the feeling because it removes the need to edit the pillow every time breath edits the chest. What lasts and how? Latex ages like a well-used book. Edges soften. Color warms. Resilience stays if air and covers were kind. Memory foam ages by oxidation. Yellowing, a little crumble at cuts first. Good density delays it. Gentleness with heat and sun delays it more. When the middle stays low after a morning shake, the pillow is asking to be a backrest or become shreds inside an adjustable case. Pillows retire into usefulness. Nothing needs drama to leave the bed. Picture a bench in a quiet factory. A metal mold with neat rows of pins. A hiss as latex batter is poured and air persuades itself into place. An oven door closing with a mild thunk. Later, a soft rectangle cooling under a fan holes like a measured constellation. Next bench over. A slab of visco cut to a wave, the offcuts bagged for shredded fill. Covers weight in a stack zippers aligned. Seems kind someone fits foam to cloth the way a bookbinder fits paper to board. The result sits on a shelf and does nothing loudly until a head arrives. Allergy talk sounds restless in daylight. For sleep, we make it boring on purpose. Calm fabric, predictable care, a few numbers that help the air mind its manners. What people usually react to and what they don't. Most nighttime sneeze trouble comes from house dust mite allergen, living in dust that settles where you breathe. It's not the goose, it's the micro. A well-encased feather pillow can be friendlier to noses than a neglected synthetic. The rule is quiet. Clean case plus barrier plus dry filling beats any slogan on a box. Encasements. The pillow's invisible armor. Over the insert down feather latex fiberfill lives a protector. Over that, your pillowcase. The protector's job is to make dust behave. Fabric. Tightly woven microfiber or cotton downproof ticking. Sometimes a thin polyurethane laminate inside that breathes but blocks particles. Pore size. Aim for approximately 10 microns or smaller, so mites and most of their shed bits stay on the outside. Closure, a zip that tucks under a flap so the seam is as sealed as the cloth. Feel. Smooth enough that the case glides. Quiet enough that the night forgets it. Wash rhythm with sheets if you like tidy math, or every 2 to 4 weeks. The case atop it still goes weekly. Moisture is policy. Mites like warm plus damp. Your pillow prefers cool plus dry. Morning, stand the pillow on its edge while the bed cools. Let last night leave as air, weather. Open a window for 5 slow minutes. In humid seasons, let a fan do the talking instead. Seasonally, give inserts sun and shade sun to sweeten, shade to finish avoiding long, harsh noon for latex or memory foam. Room, if the bedroom runs sticky, a quiet dehumidifier is kinder than extra detergent. Washing, but unexcited, think of laundry as a metronome, not an event. Pillowcases. Weekly with sheets. Protectors, encasements. Every 2 to 4 weeks or at each linen change. Down feather inserts when truly needed often, every 6 to 12 months in a large machine. Gentle soap. Thorough dry with patient low heat and pauses to fluff so clusters reloft, fiberfill inserts. Wash more readily, same rule about drying until quiet and light. Latex memory foam cores, do not soak, spot clean, air in shade. Keep covers doing the wet work. A hot wash approximately 60 degrees Celsius, 140 degrees Fahrenheit. 4 cases and protectors is a simple, effective kindness to noses. Care symbols, the pillow's tiny alphabet. Those small icons mean please do the simple thing. Tub icon, water temp, 30/40ths, 60. A line under it equals gentle. 2 lines equals very gentle. Triangle, bleach allowed. Crossed out equals don't. Square with circle, tumble dry, dots equals heat level. Iron dots for heat. Often not needed for cases with an envelope mouth. Circle dry clean. W for professional wet clean. When in doubt, treat like a good shirt. Mild soap, rinse well, dry completely, store calm. Labels that matter quietly. The useful bits live in small print near a seam. Content. Down feather percentages. All down versus down and small feathers. Fill power for down. A higher number equals loftier per ounce. It says how much air I'll hold, not how fancy I am. Foam, density and sometimes ild. Higher density ages slower. Compliance tags. The plain law label. Do not remove except by consumer tag exists. So what S inside matches the promise. Textile and foam assurances. O-Cotex Certiper US. Responsible down certifications signals that the pillow brings shape, not stories. Hypoallergenic, translated, the word floats. What helps in the real world is washability plus encasement plus dryness. A down pillow that sees sun. A protector, and a schedule behaves better than any unchecked rectangle labeled simple bedtime routine, the allergy version. Shake, billow, and set the pillow to breathe while you brush your teeth. Keep fragrance-free detergent. Save perfumes for the morning, not the nose at midnight. Vacuum the headboard line and bedside rugs with a HEPA machine on quiet day. Rotate which pillow is on duty so each has a chance to air deeply. When to retire without drama. Synthetic that stays low after a morning fluff. Often 2 to 3 years. Down that still relofts but has thinned. Top up or wash and dry well. Retire when even full and dry it no longer lifts. Latex that has gone crumbly at the edges or memory foam that holds a valley. Time to demote to reading prop or shreds for an adjustable pillow. Nothing wasted. Old clean fill becomes pet beds, draft snakes, or packing for the cupboard of delicate things. Travel without starting over. A thin travel protector or spare pillowcase in your bag makes hotel pillows behave like home. A buckwheat travel roll or small latex slab teaches unfamiliar beds your next language on the first night. Hospitals and hotels, same physics, bigger rooms, encasements. By default, par-level linen 1-on-1 in wash, 1 on the shelf. case-off protector on schedules, and airing rooms that do what your windows do, just at scale. The goal upstairs is the same as yours. A predictable rectangle that smells like clean and asks no questions. Why all of this makes sleep feel simpler. A pillow is a container for air plus a plan. Encasements keep the plan. Labels remind you which plan it was. Laundry and sunlight rehearse it. The payoff is small and constant. A cheek meets cool, a nose meets nothing, a hand meets an edge it recognizes. The body spared decisions, uses the saved attention on breathing. Picture the last tidy minute before bed, a case that smells like line dry, a protector zipped, and quiet. An insert aired earlier in the window, the room a shade drier than the hall. You lift, billow, press once, and the pillow becomes the same hill it was yesterday. It will stay that hill until morning. Modern pillows live quiet lives. They arrive in cardboard, sleep in cotton, learn your face, and if treated gently age into the kind of object that has nothing dramatic to report. Today's story is not invention. It is maintenance polished into a ritual small enough to remember when you're already tired. A 3-minute routine night plus morning. Night 1 minute. Open the window a hand's width, or let the fan think for you. Hold the pillow by 2 corners. Below, press the center once. Set it down with the open end of the case away from your face. Morning, 2 minutes. Stand the pillow on its edge while the bed cools. Turn it after your tea. If the room is friendly, let the pillow visit the window for a short airing sun to sweeten, shade to finish. The day will do the rest. Replacement without ceremony. Synthetic fills behave well for 2 to 3 years. Down and good latex hold their opinions longer. The sign is simple. After a morning shake, if the pillow stays flat or keeps a valley, it is ready to retire to reading duty, pet bed duty, or to become shreds inside an adjustable case. No speeches, just a new rectangle that knows the job. Storage that makes tomorrow easy. Clean, dry, folded cases live in a stack with cuffs aligned, protectors zip and rest beside them. Spare inserts prefer breathable bags, cotton or spunbond knot plastic. A sprig of lavender or a cedar shaving discourages moths without announcing itself. The cupboard smells like nothing, plus a memory of laundry day, which is exactly right. Seasonal rotation, quietly done. 2 inserts per sleeper, 1 a touch loftier, 1 a touch cooler cover the year. In spring, sun both. Let summer meet the airist. In autumn, wash cases warm and unhurried. Let winter have the steadier support. The routine is a calendar taught to fabric. Travel so you don't start over. A thin protector in your bag makes a guest pillow behave like home. A compact buckwheat roll or small latex slab tells unfamiliar mattresses your neck-s language on the first night. A spare pillowcase turns a folded sweater or down jacket into a passable cushion on trains and long waits. Small tricks, large calm, menus and mixers. Today's shelves offer down, feather, microfiber clusters, latex, memory foam, and mixed shreds. Choose by verb, not slogan. You want a pillow that hugs down, or lifts latex, or holds memory foam, or flows and then locks buckwheat, or behaves the same every wash microfiber. Nothing universal, only what lets the neck keep its quiet line, while the cheek meets cool cleanliness that never raises its voice. Cases weekly, protectors every 2 to 4, inserts when they ask. Down dries fully low heat, long time occasional pause and fluff. Fiber fill tolerates the machine. Solid foams see air, not water. If a label confuses, treat the pillow like a good shirt. Mild soap, clear rinse, dry until light. Labels that help then disappear. Down. Fill Power says how much air I hold per ounce. Foam Density says how slowly I will age. Yield says how firm I feel. Textiles, OAKOTAX, means no extra stories. Certepa US, the same for polyurethane foams. The Quiet Law label is a handshake between buyer and filling. Read it once, then let it sleep. Allergies reduced to habits. A smooth encasement, fine pore size, zipped. Plus a dry room keeps mites uninterested. Hot wash the fabric parts, air the insert. Vacuum the headboard line on quiet days. Most hypoallergenic is simply clean, plus dry, plus covered. Little luxuries that age well. A percale case for cool, a sateen for glide, a linen case for summer evenings that refuse to end, a gusset that keeps edges square so loft is readable in the dark. A monogram near the opening small, practical for the laundry's sake, more than pride's. None of these wake you. That is why they deserve to exist. When engineering helps, ventilated tolale latex for heat-prone sleepers, zoned cores when shoulders are broad and mattresses soft. Shredded blends with a zippered cover you can open and adjust by handfuls until the neck says yes. Remember the old rule. No arguments with anatomy. Noise reduced to almost none. Down is quiet, silk quieter. Latex is return without sound. Buckwheat is the faintest dry rain until the ear stops noticing. If a protector crackles, it is the wrong protector. If a zipper speaks, point it away. End of life, usefully dull. Clean, old fill becomes draft snakes, pet beds, packing for fragile things, or the inner layer of a garden kneeler cases become polished cloths, latex. That has gone friendly at the edges becomes cushion shreds. Nothing wasted, nothing dramatic. Why this still matters in a world of machines? Because a pillow is still a container for air, plus a plan. The plan is the ritual. Shake, air, cover, rotate, retire. The air is what you meet when you turn your head in the dark and find nothing to think about. If you want a final picture to fall asleep on, the room is dim. The window is the width of a hand. Night air walks in and back out like a polite guest. On the bed, a rectangle you've taught all year case smooth, protector zipped, insert aired earlier in the light. You lift the corners below once, press the middle, and the hill you like returns to being itself. The lamp goes low. Fabric remembers wind. The pillow remembers nothing at all, which is exactly what you asked of it.